Welcome back to Non Niche. This is Raquel. I'm so excited to introduce to you Skyler. She's a wonderful screen printing artist. She uses mixed media in her work, like photography, ink, and everything. And right now, she's working on a new collection. But her interview is so inspiring, and it basically is the artist journey, I feel like. But let me not say any more spoilers. So let's tune into the video. No, but it's so wonderful to finally meet you, though.
Yeah, same. Likewise. Finally meet you as well.
I know.
But I know we've been scheduling this for a while, and I'm so bad with my emails, so I'm so
No.
sorry if I was replying late and stuff.
Oh no, we're both busy, and especially in time zones. Like I'm learning how to do time zones now, so that's why
Yeah.
it's just different for everybody. So I try to stay as flexible as I can. So no, I'm always appreciative.
Right.
So
Right.
no,
I'm
but
curious. Where are you based?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get an idea of the time zone where you are. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
down.
that's quite different.
Yeah, so Dallas, like right now it's probably like one. But no, but typically I just want to learn about you and how you got into your art and how why your aesthetics is your aesthetic. So let's get started there. And this is just going to be pre-recorded like we discussed before, so you're not going to be on
Oh,
Instagram
yeah.
Live. This is just going to pop on YouTube. So and then I'll edit it. But whenever we're done with the meeting, you can just send me over your favorite pieces of art and stuff like that, and then I can promote you during the week, and then you'll be launched on YouTube the Thursday or Friday of that week.
Perfect. Could you please also send me your YouTube so I can follow you there? Because I
Oh
only
yeah, for
follow your
sure.
client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, tell me a little bit about yourself and like your medium.
Oh, so my name is Skyler. So basically, I'm from China, and I live in London right now, London in the UK, and I've been here for, I think this is my 8th year. And basically, no, ninth or 8th. I came here 2015. I don't know, my math is horrible.
No,
But
it's about mine.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I was in Canada for 3 years. That's where I did my high school.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I was like, I don't know, I've always been like a art little kid. I was drawing when I was a kid, and wasn't really good with academic, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible with academic. And the Chinese education system is more focused on your academic parts, where even if you do want to go to art school, you need to have a certain score or like a certain degrees in your academic studies.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, you can't just be good at art and go to art school. You kind of have to, like average it out,
Right.
which is fair enough. But so my family, they're very supportive, and my mom kind of just figured maybe it isn't the best environment for me. And I happened to had a friend who, her parents also wanted her to go study abroad. So they kind of talked about it, and I left. So went to Canada, and it's much more, like an open environment, and it was a lot easier to continue practicing art. Like I actually almost decided not to pursue art at one point because
Wow.
of I was like, yeah, I like animals, like pets and stuff. So I wanted to go to like a veterinarian school.
Mm-hmm.
But I met a friend of mine. Well, she's one of my best friend now, but back then she's just like, oh, you seem to go to art classes in the school. Like, do you want to go to like an art studio where you can build your portfolio, and then you can use this portfolio to apply for art universities? And I thought, okay. So basically, I was taking a lot of art classes in high school because it was available, and it was like we had a lot of freedom in terms of what we can study throughout the academic terms. So I just did a lot of art classes, and I went to the art studios, and I worked on my portfolio. And then by the time I applied for university, I applied in the US as well, but I didn't get it, I think. And then I applied for some Canadian school, and I also applied for the UK because one of my best friends, she applied for the UK. And I just thought, you know what, I'll just, why not, just give it a go. And I was quite surprised I got accepted. It was by Camberwell College of Art, so it's part of the University of London. Basically, they have I think they have 6 campuses, or it's more like they were all individual art colleges and they joined together. I think, I'm not familiar with the history.
They're like the combined.
So they're like Wimbledon College of Art, Camberwell, London College of Fashion, Central St. Martin, which is probably the most famous one, London College of Communication. I think there's one more. Maybe I'm missing. Oh, Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea College. So I applied for Camberwell College of Art because I was really into illustration back then. And then that's also what the tutor at my art portfolio studio, he was like, oh, your style fits really into like illustration. So I applied illustration in Emily Carr in Canada, like OCAD, another school which I forgot the name, and Camberwell. And I got in, and I don't know, like I think I did consider whether it was a good idea for me to move out of Canada. But my best friend, she also applied, she got to Central St. Martin's, and I just also considered that maybe in the UK, the general environment of art maybe is more, there's more going on, there's more galleries, and I never been to the Europe before. So I thought, okay, maybe I will go to London. And that's how I made my mind, 8-9 years ago. And I came, did my undergraduate. And then, because I studied illustration back then, but in my school, so I did foundation year in Camberwell, and then I applied for my undergraduate, which is kind of a different, like how they did it here. So it's like 3 years of college, basically. So plus the foundation year is like 4 in total. So then you have to apply for school again after, by the end of the foundation year. So then I applied London College of Communication, which is also part of the UAL. And when I studied illustration in London College of Communication, which we call LCC for short, they have a really fantastic printmaking workshop in the building. Nice. And one of my tutors, he graduated from Royal College of Art Print many years ago, and he's very proud of this whole printmaking technique. So he encouraged all of us to try this technique. So I just thought I'll give it a go, and I went to the printmaking studio, and from that point I just fell in love with the medium. Like I love the process of printmaking. Like in the beginning, I remember when I did induction, like I wasn't a big fan of it. I was like, okay, fair enough, because we had to do induction to, so you have access to all the workshops. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't having much interest. But then I decided to dedicate one of my projects on printmaking, and then I just like, okay, this is probably one of my favorite medium back when I was in LCC. And then I think for my final year, I dedicated all my projects on printmaking, and that's when I was thinking about doing a master's degree. And then I looked into it, and then Royal College of Art is a big facility, and they have a fantastic printmaking. I mean, they call print now, but I think used to call printmaking course. That's also where my tutor graduated from, and also a lot of people from the tutors from the printmaking workshop, they all knew this school. They even knew the stuff. So they recommended it, and then I applied, and I was very, glad that I got in with my performance. I made a lot of prints throughout my second year and last year of university. And then I got into Royal College of Art print, and I did 2 years there, which I spent a year and something during COVID. So it was a bit difficult because of COVID. I had limited access to a studio, but our tutor really worked hard for us to, especially for the final year students, to get as much access as we can to the facility. So I just try to maximize my time there. And I made quite a lot of work during that limited amount of time that we had. So like that's kind of the story how I ended up doing printmaking. It wasn't intentional at all.
But isn't the best? Like I was telling, like I've noticed a lot of artists have become artists unintentionally because I think that
Yeah,
was just like it finds us kind of like a totem like of a past life or something. It's just like whatever you
yeah,
like typically finds you again, but it's so
yeah,
unintentionally because you think you're going one way, then all of a sudden like your your like best thing is literally on the whole other side of the world, but you would never known. You would never known if you
exactly,
didn't take like that leap of faith, and I think
exactly.
that's amazing because I've always been a fan of like printmaking. It's just it's wonderful, and then it's so meticulous at the same time, and everybody's just like, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, you don't understand like the whole like pushing and pulling and then adding, and it's like a actual technique, and it does take time to like master it.
Exactly. And it's very therapeutic, especially like to me. And also it's a great workout too,
Yes.
like when you really into it because those press they're heavy and
Yes.
the I mean some of the printmaking technique now you can do them at home, but
Mhm.
some of them you can't because you just don't have the access. You don't have the press. You have to go to a studio.
Right.
But what I really love about printmaking is just it gives so much textures, like you can still do, like the illustration style. There's a lot of illustrators I know that they work on printmaking. You
Mhm.
can still do whatever the style that you like, but it just gives you so much more volume into the work that you make. And also you can make addition, which is fantastic. And you get to learn about, like setting up a play, making a play, work with different metals, and there's different techniques, in printmaking, like monoprint, etching, relief.
Right.
My favorite is lithography. And I love stone lithography because that's what I focused mainly on for the last year of my master. And then I'm still doing them now. Like I found a studio where I can still continue with the stone lithography
Oh,
because it's
okay.
not that accessible in London. Like
Mhm.
not many studios have it because those stones, they're apparently, I think they're imported from Germany, and then they're very heavy, and I don't think UK have mine for those limestone. So I think they
Mm.
import it from Germany, and it's just a lot of
It's
so there's
super
not many in
expensive.
London. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely for sure.
I was
So
like, I
yeah,
think I think we were trying to get one when I was in college here. Like the
yeah,
print, they're just like, well, this is like the 15th cousin of that. We can't actually get the normal one. I was like, understood, because I bet this class would be more expensive to take.
yeah, yeah. Because I think the stone depends on the size of them. Like it can easily go between a few £100.
Exactly.
So yeah, like that. But then once you get it, you can use them for, I don't know, until the stone go to like a point where it's too thin and you cannot use them anymore. But you can basically just keep using it. It's fantastic. It's in a way maybe like environmental friendly, I guess. But
But who's counting?
yeah, I can't dig too much into that because I didn't do my study into that. But compared to some other like etching, you need a lot of acid and stuff.
Hmm.
This is, it's kind of friendly, but you use gamma arabic and acid too, so who knows? Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I got into printmaking, which is what I kind of do now.
So do you so you just do that full time, or do you have like a normal job and then you do printmaking on the side, because the starving artist is a real thing out here. So we do have to take normal jobs to like feed our hobbies and like our true passion in life, but it's always a blessing whenever we can make it a job. So is that like your full-time job now?
I'm developing that as a full-time job now,
Nice.
actually. I was working on some projects and I was kind of trying to work freelance before,
Hmm.
and I even took a part-time job in school before. And also because I'm very blessed, I have my family to support me as well.
Right.
So combine everything together, I was able to afford life here in London. But right now, like I think it's about a month ago, because me and my friend were trying to get a studio together,
Hmm.
and basically I wanted to give myself a period of time where I'm just going to dedicate completely into like making work, not
Hmm.
only just printmaking. I'm trying to try photography as well. I'm trying to do painting as well, which I can't really do it at home, obviously, because I have like animals.
Yeah.
Can't let them mess with those. So I've been trying to look for a studio, and my friends, they're able to, like, we were like, okay, let's do it together. Like, they will do their own stuff, but we were able to like get a space together, a lot more affordable. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. Like, we just kind of at the start phase. And so yeah, I'm trying to explore like more mediums as well, rather than just limit myself completely into printmaking. I'm not like printmaking is bad. Like I love it. Like, I go to a studio here in London, but I love photography as well. Like, no way I'm professional, but I try to make like photopolymer plates, which is you know, you can get photography and expose them on UV bed into the light sensitive plates, and you can print them. Yeah, I really like this because of the subject that I tend to work with. They're kind of relates to memories, like home, like some kind of spaces, cities, and people. And I used to work with like trauma and like psychology and stuff as well. So photography started to become quite important in my work. Like, I try to like sort of combine them together, because I used to not be a big fan of photography, because I always prefer everything to be hand drawn. Because I personally feel that everything is drawing. Like, if you use your hand and you draw them, it gives sort of more meaning, and it gives a bit more authentic self into the work that you're making. But then I think it was by the like 2021, that's when I started to really dig into photography, and I started falling in love with this technique. And how much photography is, it's just how it tells a story uniquely different compared to like drawing. And then I kind of started combining them with printmaking, and I fell in love with the final results. So I'm working on a new series right now, which is basically photopolymer prints of photos and printmaking.
I think that's brilliant.
But sorry?
I said I think that's brilliant. I love the mixed media aspect to it and bringing the psychology, because like one thing about it is when it's photography, it's a still of a moment, but it can be amplified even more whenever you add like a different component. And I think that's beautiful, especially when you were speaking about psychology. When you do add different techniques and vibration, it does like amplify the moment and the message that you do want the viewer to come across. I think that's gonna be wonderful, because I fell in love with your artwork when I saw it. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna ask her. Like, every time like I DM people, I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna respond, but I love your work, so I'm gonna follow you. But no, I think that's completely brilliant. And luckily you have somebody to go in the studio with you, so you do take that time. And I think especially when we have pets like cats who want to be into everything, and everything's so dangerous to be around, it's good to have like that space where you can kind of be messy and embrace the mess. And I think that sometimes what's it called, it's like organized chaos. I think the best work is when we do have that organized chaos, because it brings such beauty. And then, and when it's put in a series, that takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. And I always go back into the discussion of like AI, artificial intelligence, and how it's making a little bit of artists a little bit wavery about how to approach it. And I was just like, the human experience of how we use our work and use our hands, I believe it just amplifies our product, like price wise, because we carry such high vibrations into what we put our work in, and the energy that we put our work in. Like, we finally will be paid for our worth. And I think that's very important, because as artists, you people will try to negotiate with you, and you're like, I spent 18 hours on this piece, and you want to pay like $150 for it? probably not gonna work. so,
Exactly.
so I think, as an artist, when you brand yourself and then you put into like hours and labors as like a business, like you can charge your work even like $1,000 because it's a actually once in a lifetime handmade piece by you. So I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm excited. So you gotta let us know whenever you start launching your series
Oh,
and
yes,
showing
for
it.
sure. I probably will do that on Instagram. Yes, definitely. But yeah, I'm not trying to be more productive because sometimes I really take my time and then I can be a little bit chaotic. But
Mm-hmm.
definitely, and thank you so much.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with what you said about the worth and value that we put in artists because I think art is all about like expression. I don't think art is ever trying to like teach people anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's sometimes the artists simply just put themselves into the piece that they make without like we don't, or I mean in my perspective it's like I'm not trying to persuade anybody anything in my work. That's
Mm-hmm.
simply how I feel, especially with me. I work a lot of my like thing that I worked with or the print that I made, they all just came from my personal experience or like my memory and stuff, and I just put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my job, or it's just not something I can control with how other people view it. And
Exactly.
and then and what moves me the most is when sometimes I come across with some people and they look at my work and they feel this connection with my work. That's basically feel like it's basically me making a connection with this person, and that's like the most beautiful thing that I
Yeah.
personally love about sharing your art with people, because you're essentially making connection through your work. Because if somebody
Mm-hmm.
can see through your work, they see you, and that's in the most pure way, without languages, without like a music. It's just simply visually you
Mm-hmm.
connect. And yeah, that's what I love the most about the whole artistic practice and people like making work and putting them out there. And then that's what I think value the most with artwork. Like now we obviously we prize everything, which is
Mm-hmm.
understandable. I
Right.
absolutely understand. But I think most, like I think every work, not every work are seen. A lot of people that they paint their whole life and nobody ever know what they painted. They're
Yes.
just in their home, but they doesn't mean they don't have a value. That they value pricelessly. Like because I remember a few years ago when I when I graduated from LCC, my degree, so I think the final project the final project, I made a short animation
Mm-hmm.
with printmaking techniques. So it's like a dry point print,
Wow.
and it was like a 1 minute, and I was quite happy with it because it took me some time.
Yeah.
Like remember my tutor was like, you're crazy, like making animation and all you make prints, so you kind of have to draw every frame, and it's all hand
Yes.
draw the frame and print them, and then use your laptop and combine them together.
It's
And
tedious.
yeah, like, but
Yeah.
I enjoy the process. I don't think it didn't took me way too long because I'm nowhere a professional animator. So if a professional animator, like one of my friends who study animation, looked at it, and there's a lot of flaws. But I just wanted to make it move.
Mm-hmm.
And but I remember when I went back home, I showed that little animation to one of my cousin's friends. I think yeah, it's one of her best friend. We were just talking about my work, and she was like, "Oh, I would love to see some of your stuff." And then I was like, "Okay, I got this little animation. Let me show it to you." She cried after she watched it.
Aww.
I almost like shed tear. I almost cried with her, and that was the best feeling I
Yeah.
got, which is like she didn't have to say anything, but I just knew instantly, like she understood what I'm trying to say in that little
Mm-hmm.
animation there. Because her tears just tell everything. And I remember she was telling me it just resonates so much with how she feels. And she said she doesn't even quite know why, but she was just crying. And then I almost feel bad for making her, like, but then
Aww.
I just loved it. I was just like, that's exactly sort of a connection I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very beautiful moment, honestly. Like I still remember to today, like her reaction after watching it.
But isn't that the best? It's like
Yeah.
when you put all your effort into it, and I always talk to people. It's just like your best work is something that you either really enjoy or you really hated, and like it resonates with people. You're just like, especially the ones that you don't like and don't resonate with. You're just like, I'm gonna put this out there because it's a space filler for that series, and like everybody's just like, oh my gosh, this piece. You're just like, why? I hate this so much.
Yeah, that happened to me as well. I absolutely don't understand it. Because I think when I did foundation, it was also a final project. I made some portraits, like watercolor drawing. And one of my friends came to me. I mean, she just offered me a little, but she was like, I would love to buy this for you, like from you. Would that be okay? I was like, I look at it, I was like, I haven't seen it.
But why?
And I was just like, okay. And I was like, you don't have to pay me. You can just take it, because I was not.
Yeah.
Didn't like it was a woman portrait, and I didn't like it at all. She loved it. It's like, that's so interesting. And sometimes I have no idea why. To be honest, I'm still bugged with like why that happens.
I know.
Why is the thing that we hate the most,
but I feel like I was explaining, I was just like, maybe it's because we create it and that's like the most authentic, because we're like, yeah, we're just going to let go and let whatever happens to this piece. And then we put it up. So we just kind of like detach from it. But it's like the ones that we're really like attached to, we're just like, look at this. No, this is the one that you want, because this one has so much meaning and it's so cool. I worked really hard. This one, I don't care. Why? But I think it's like the artistry of detaching, with like the piece, the artist, and the process. I think that's always been a huge contemplation, because even Michelangelo's like best work is what we perceive is his worst that he thinks. He never really liked some of the Colosseum pieces that he did, so it's just like, it's kind of the touch and go of the human experience and how we perceive certain things. And you made that lady's best day. I'm sure she remembers the moment of just buying the piece, or not even buying the piece, just getting a free piece of work. And she's just like, oh my gosh, she probably thought it was like the most expensive thing. And, she's like, the artist gave it to me free. I bet it's a wonderful story to tell.
Yeah.
But it's like that experience, and you're just like, I hated that piece so much.
I think a lot of my artistic friends, we're all quite harsh on ourselves, honestly.
Yes.
Like sometimes the person who's the most critical on your work is usually the artist themselves,
all the
rather
time.
than. And to be honest, I struggled so much before, because I was always like, I look at the whatever I produce, even just drawings and random stuff, and I just, after a while, I'm like, oh my god, I hated them. It's like, oh god, I can't believe I was that bad at this, and I just don't like it. But I think in one way it's good. It's like, then where you need to kind of improve, improvise, and what to do next in your next one. But sometimes I think you're absolutely right. Like, you need to let go. You need to let go. You need to be allowed to make back pieces. Just to do whatever. Because I remember this one thing from actually, he's my art school. He's my art teacher in my high school. Excuse me. And he said, what did he say? He was like, instead of thinking, just making. Because sometimes I spend so much time trying to think, okay, what's my next best piece? What is my next perfect one? And like so much planning, so much sketching to make it perfect.
Exactly.
Composition, color, and we can spend so much time on that, hours and hours and days, and then we never get to actually do it. And honestly, like with me, I sketch, but whenever it comes to like the final piece, like the work that I know I need to like make something out, I actually don't sketch that much. I don't know, like whatever he said back in high school just always somewhere in my head, and then I just like, well, I sketch a little bit, and I was like, okay, cool, looks good, okay, let's go. And then because especially my last year I worked on stone lithography, because it's a painful process to grind the stone, to prepare the stone. So you need to have those cores, and you have to those, what do you call them, it's like those sand, coarse sand, and you have
Yeah,
to,
the cord things to
yeah, you
scratch.
have to
Yeah.
grind the stone, and it's just, my arm was exhausted, and it generally takes like an hour and something just to get a stone perfectly clean, ready to start, drawing. So if you do mess up, I mean, you can correct it later on, but for example, if you mess up a big one or you completely change your idea, then that's just gonna be a hell of work. You have to restart again. But then I remember, like, I was just like, I don't care. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go, just draw whatever I feel at that moment and print it out. And if I don't like it, okay, next piece.
Exactly.
I was just, let's just do it. And yeah, like it kind of worked for me. And like I think I still have that mindset now, to be honest. Which I don't know. Everybody practice differently, but
no, I completely agree, and I think that's important to be honest with yourself, because when we create authentically, I think we're so hard on ourselves because we hear so many voices just like, we can do it, and then we're at the process just like, no, I can't. No, I can't. And it's good to be honest with it instead of staying in the moment of like self-defeating and pushing through it, because it's liberating. It's liberating when you get past to the point and you actually finish a piece and you're just like, one, it's either better than you expected, or you push through the process and you're just like, you know what, I got through it. It's an actual finished piece and I commend myself for it. It's just like sometimes artists, as like just an artist in itself, it's hard to give us props, and like encouragement to say like, I could do this, but like it's just like the mind and like, the artistry of soul just like intertwining together, and then you have like external validation from like the outside. You're just like, I don't need that, but you kind of do. So it's just like a lot of thoughts and process and emotions, and then like when you do, like, don't be afraid to scratch something. You're like, okay, yeah, this is not working, let me start again. And I think the process of starting over or pushing through the process of completing something, even though it doesn't feel great, I think that it's very liberating to the artist. But sometimes it's at a fact where we feel like we're not doing the right thing, and I call it the exciting anxiousness, because I was telling my mom, I was just like, I feel like something's happening and it's weird. You know how you're about to get a surprise, but you feel like that anxiousness. I'm like, why do we always get that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, with the same feeling of anxiousness? Like, why isn't there like a differentiation, like a large differentiation of like anxiety and excitement at the same time? So I'm personally going through that with myself with like non-niche. So, but no, I think your story it's wonderful. And then how you process certain things and how you do your print work. I would love to hear, like, for the last maybe 6 minutes, what your best advice would be for people who are traveling the country to have their artist opportunity, because that's kind of rare, because not a lot of people, do go outside the country or, to have that experience. What would your best advice be?
You mean just like in general, or like for?
Yeah, just in general, for like an artist just starting out and you're like, hey, I'm taking a leap of faith.
Well, I think it's just do it. Just like Nike said, just do it.
It's like, do it.
It's as cliche as it possibly sounds, but it's just like, just do it, because you never know which piece that you make at this moment will somehow in a day represents you. And if you feel something like, and also don't limit yourself into just like, for example, you think you're an artist and you're like, oh, I have to paint, or I have to draw. No, you can write, you can take a photo, you can, even if you know how to play guitar, you make a little melody, like anything. I think art is a lifestyle. It's not like, it doesn't have a goal, it doesn't have a finish line. It's something you pursue maybe until the day you die, basically.
Exactly.
And then like, I don't draw all the time. It's impossible. Honestly, it's impossible. So sometimes when I feel I have some inspiration, and sometimes they're not all in images, and I just write them down. And even one of my tutors taught me that, just, you can write and you can do a lot of stuff, and they're all art, they're all part of it. And then one day you look back at them, you can combine them, and then you can make something new out of it. So I think the best thing to do, just to do it in whatever way you feel most comfortable. Because I tried before to force myself to draw, like, for every day, and I set myself a little challenge. It worked for a little bit, but it started to drain really quickly.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, just because it fits for someone doesn't mean it works for everybody else. So it's just always important to find what you feel most comfortable working with, no matter what sort of technique that is.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. Just write it down, little, have records of your inspiration, of your ideas, so you can always come back to them later and work on them later, even though they seem to be imperfect when you kind of started it, but it can be something very beautiful in the end. And then they just all you. I think just be the authentic you is probably also very important.
Yeah.
Just being you, just like, even it doesn't feel right. Sometimes I feel like, hey, it doesn't feel right to be me, but fuck it.
Yeah, like, we're just gonna do it.
If you're not gonna be you, no one else gonna do that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I can think of, honestly.
No, that's a wonderful answer. And yeah, I think we all just need to do it, be your true self, and then, like, not have so much pressure. You have one life. It's okay to take your time. You don't have to have everything figured out. I feel like sometimes we get in this matrix of, like, the hierarchy and what society says you should be at this certain stage of your life. These people didn't know either, okay? So I think it's important of what you said is just do it, and it's trial and error, and that it's okay because there's power within it. And I think you exude that very well. And I'm so excited that I got to sit down with you, even though we played like email tag.
I'm very glad to talk as well, to share a little bit of my story as well.
Yeah.